Welcome to the Inspiration Zone. Thank you so much, Gertrude Mache and Hestori Seckley, for this wonderful opportunity to be able to speak at the Best You Expo 2020. My name is Jennifer Ngulube, MBE. I was born and brought up in a very small African village in Zimbabwe. This is a village that I hold very dearly to my heart up to today, as this is the place where I was really made. What do I mean by that? See, I was born right at the beginning of the War of Liberation, when my country was fighting for independence from the then British rule. So I didn't have an ordinary childhood, where other girls were playing with dolls and the like. Myself, my friends, and my siblings had bigger safety issues to worry about. Going to school was a challenge on its own, as we had to huddle together in groups for safety, as our parents had taught us there's safety in numbers. And school was another story for me, because it has so many challenges for me. I was a stammerer as a child, which posed a lot of problems for me. I remember this particular day when we were doing a debate activity in our English lesson. This was a very favorite part of the day for all of us in the classroom. So myself and other children raised our hands, eagerly hoping to be selected to sit in the debate panel. So you can imagine the excitement I felt when my teacher called my name. I quickly stood up, thinking I had made it to the panel. But what then followed crushed my spirit. My teacher looked me in the eye and she said, "Sit down, you fool. You will never amount to anything." So with tears rolling down my eyes, head bowed down, I made my way back to sit down. And I could hear the roar of laughter from all the other students as I made my way back to my seat. See, this is a day that really crushed my young spirit. This was my first encounter with adversity at such a young age. Another time that stands out very clearly in my mind is this very day when I finished school and went back home. And as I walked towards my house, I could sense that something was wrong, because I could see neighbors in my yard. So as I slowly made my way into the house, I looked at my mother. She was laying on the floor. Then instinctively, I knew something was wrong. Then one of the neighbors said to me, "Jennifer, we are sorry. We have to take your mother to hospital." She clearly did look unwell. At that point, my mother looked me in the eye and she said, "Jennifer, you have to be strong. You have to look after your siblings." So as they took my mother away, this 12-year-old me stood there, lost, but she knew she had to do something. So I quickly walked into my mother's shoes, and her words kept ringing in my head, "Jennifer, you have to be strong." See, if these were ordinary times, maybe I could have, it could have been easier. The war was still raging on. Cooking and washing up and all the lights were the least of my worries, because I used to emulate my mother do all the chores. So I was very confident I could keep my siblings fed and well looked after. But the challenge was, how would this 12-year-old me be able to keep her siblings safe at night? As it was, we used to have gunmen wandering around the neighborhood, knocking on random houses to seek for food. And word had quickly gone around that there were children that lived by themselves. So we were extremely vulnerable. And we did have a lot of such wanderers coming to our house at night. I would hear a knock, not a knock, a loud bang on our door. And I knew then that I had to quickly wake up, take my siblings, hush them and shove them under my bed, cover them with a blanket. See, this 12-year-old learned to nature then. So my siblings would stay under the bed as I made my way to go encounter whatever awaited me at the door. Up to today, I still thank my God because all these men wanted was just food. So I would give them food, they will eat and they will go. Thinking back now, it could have been worse. So that was part of my challenging childhood. But little did I know that that very period would have such a major impact in my older me. For as I got older, this caring person grew with me. As time went on, I finished school, the war ended, and I went into teaching, a job that I fairly enjoyed. So I taught for a few years, but our joy was very short-lived when it came to the issues of security in our country. No sooner had the war ended did our country erupt into tribal divisions. Again, we found ourselves worrying about safety. We found ourselves in a predicament again. This time, it was a different issue. I come from the minority tribe that was under attack then. So again, I saw a lot of my friends disappear. I was working in a rural school then. I saw a lot of neighbors disappear. This was a time that saw over 20,000 people from my tribe being maimed, killed, and disappear. This was a very sad time indeed. So once again, I felt very broken. But I had to make a conscious decision. See, now I was a mother. You know, when you're a mother, you start to worry about the issues of safety even more. So at that point, I decided to take my 4 children and left the country for the United Kingdom. This is where we started our new life. Life was fairly easy compared to where we had come from, but not without its own challenges. See, in Zimbabwe, we had faced segregation from white rule, but I had not experienced racism until I got here. Another challenge was thrown into my face. But nonetheless, life had prepared me. So as I struggled myself and my children, we settled fairly well, and life was fairly comfortable. But one day, as I came back from school, something just came over me. I got into the house. I just felt this weariness. I can't even explain what it was. I just put my books down. I put everything I was carrying down, literally throwing it on the floor, because I felt this dejectedness take over me. At that point, I started thinking, God, why am I here? Why did I survive the war? Why did I survive the genocide? What is my purpose? What am I doing in this earth? I know what I was making was enough to pay the bills. It was enough to feed my children. But this hollow place in my heart was getting wider and wider each time. And I sat and looked back in my over the years that I'd lived, like a person peeling onion from his bulb. I peeled layer after layer from my life, trying to understand what is it that I'm here for. At that point, my youngest child, the boy, walked into the room with a smile on his face. That was a light bulb moment. I'm a lecturer. It became very clearly. See, when I see a child smile, something happens in me. Then I realize I'm okay working with children, but I'm in the wrong department. I need to nurture. This is how I decided that I would become a foster carer. So right now, a lot of people ask me one question, Jenny, how do you do this? How can a single mother of 4 go on to raise over 23 other children in a foreign country? What people do not know is that 12-year-old me, that 12-year-old nurturer is very much alive in me. See, struggle does something to us. This is the point where I look back and thank my teacher, the one who told me that I would amount to nothing. This is the point where I stand and look back at that very difficult time when I had to grow up overnight and look after my children, after my siblings. I got prepared at a very young age. So walk with me to December 2015. The gates of Buckingham Palace opened. I stood there, myself, my children, and my brother who had flown all the way from South Africa. This was a very great moment. How did we get here? See, little did I realize that what I did with the children, because I worked from the heart, my work with the children shone. Everyone who encountered the children that had come through my hands saw the difference that I had made. See, I have looked after very, very damaged children who come from very traumatic backgrounds. See, what most people don't realize is, when children suffer trauma, they don't have the ability to tell you what's wrong in words. They will show you in behavior. And I'm talking of serious, challenging behaviors that have managed to mold and give them back something that they'd lost in their early years. So my work had attracted a lot of attention in the community that I worked with. This is how I came to be honored by Her Majesty the Queen for services to children. And as I stood face to face that day with Prince Charles, as he gave me my honor, pride welling in my heart, I remembered my mother. I could almost feel tears welling up in my eyes as well. She wasn't there to be able to celebrate with us, but I knew I had made her very proud. See, sometimes when people say, be strong, sometimes it's the only option we have. As we are in this current situation, we don't have many options right now. See, those words from my mother, you have to be strong. Sometimes wake me up in the night. As we face this very current difficult situation that we're in, sometimes all we have is just trying to be strong. I always talk to people about a childlike perspective to adversity. What do I mean by that? You see, when a child falls, they will cry, they will seek out attention from a grown-up, but they never seek permission to get up and go play again. So I always encourage people to say, let's look at life from the eyes of a child. When a child is hurt, they will deal with the problem, but they will quickly move on. So no matter how many times we fall in life, no matter how difficult life becomes, I would encourage you to think of that childlike perspective. I would encourage you to pick up the pieces, stand up. If it's too difficult to stand up, you can crawl, then stand, then run. But for whatever reason, please get off the floor, because that's how we get stuck in situations. Once you get stuck in situations, it is 10 times harder to get up. So I encourage you to look at life with this childlike perspective to adversity. As I conclude my talk today, I remember the late Tata Mandela when he said, "Do not judge me by my success, but judge me by the number of times I have fallen and risen back up again." This resonates so much with me. I hope it will resonate with other people. If anything I've said resonates with you and you want to get in touch with myself, I'm available on Facebook. My email is jenny@jenniferlizzy.com. Thank you so much to the best of you for this wonderful opportunity once again, and thanks to Get With Maji and her story.